I, the lantern on the hill. In a quiet valley surrounded by soft blue mountains, there stood a single hill shaped like a sleeping giant. At the very top of this hill sat a tiny wooden house with a round window, a crooked chimney, and an old brass lantern hanging by the door. The lantern was no ordinary lantern. It glowed even when no flame burned inside. It warmed the air even on the coldest nights. It shimmered like morning sunlight even under stormy clouds. People in the valley called it the Lantern of Tomorrow because anyone who climbed the hill heavy with worry often climbed back down with a calmer heart, a clearer mind, and a small but steady hope for the day ahead. The one who cared for the lantern was an elderly man named Iran. He was known simply as the Lantern Keeper. Aaron had lived on the hill for as long as anyone could remember. His beard was silver, his hands were gentle, and his eyes held the softness of someone who truly saw people, not their mistakes, not their fears, but the quiet goodness underneath it all. Every evening, just as the first star appeared, Aaron stepped outside, touched the lantern lightly with both hands, and whispered, "Shine for those who wander. Shine for those who wait. Shine for those who hope." And then the lantern began to glow, sending a warm golden light across the valley like a silent promise that tomorrow would be kinder. To the boy who arrived with fog. One autumn night, while the valley lay blanketed in soft fog, someone knocked gently on Aaron's door. When he opened it, he found a boy thin, shivering, with a pack too large for his small shoulders. His hair was windblown, and his eyes were tired in a way no child's eyes should be. "What brings you all the way here, little traveler?" Aaron asked softly. The boy hesitated, chewing his lip. "My name is Rianne," he said, "and I think I'm lost." Aaron nodded kindly. "Most who climb this hill are young," stepped inside. The house smelled of warm cedar and tea leaves. A fire crackled in the small stone hearth, and tiny glass bottles filled with firefly-like lights hung from the ceiling, twinkling gently. Aaron made stew and poured warm tea into a clay cup, which the boy held with both hands like it was the first comfort he'd felt in days. After a while, Aaron asked, "What kind of lost are you?" Rian stared into his cup. "The kind where you're trying to go somewhere, but you don't really know where that is anymore." Aaron smiled a little, not unkindly. "That happens more often than you'd think." 3. A heart full of questions. That night, after the meal, Rian followed Iran outside to the lantern. It glowed brighter now, humming with a warmth that reached the skin like sunlight. Rian stared at it with awe. "Why does it shine like that?" Aaron folded his hands behind his back. "Because people need it too." "Does it have magic?" the boy asked. "Not the kind people usually mean." Aaron chuckled softly. "Its light comes from hope, and hope, you see, is something we give each other." Rian frowned. "I don't think I have any hope left." Aaron knelt so that their eyes were level. His voice was soft but steady. "Then stay until you find a speck is enough." Rian nodded, though he didn't quite believe him yet. 4. The lessons of the Lantern Keeper. Rian stayed for one night, then another, and another. Aaron never asked him to explain everything at once. Instead, he let Rian speak when he wanted to. Sometimes they talked, sometimes they simply sat by the lantern in silence. Both things, Aaron said, were healing. Every morning, Aaron taught Rian something small. how to brew tea that warms the spirit, how to carve small wooden charms, how to patch worn bags and mend fraying collars, how to listen not just with ears, but with presence. And every evening they lit the lantern together. Iran would whisper the words, Rion would place a hand on the brass frame, and the valley would glow once more. Little by little, Rion felt something he hadn't felt in a long time. Not joy, exactly, not excitement, but quietness, a sense that maybe he wasn't as broken as he feared. The story Rian carried. One night, wrapped in a blanket by the fire, Rian finally whispered, I was trying to reach my older brother. Iran looked up from polishing a wooden spoon. Were you separated? Rian nodded. We grew up together. We always said that when things were hard, we'd stay side by side. But then life happened. We got older. He left to find work in another village. I tried to follow him. I thought if I went to him, things would feel right again. And did you find him? Iran asked gently. Rian shook his head. I walked for days. I asked everyone, but every answer led to another question. I got tired. I got confused. I think I forgot why I started. Aaron placed the spoon down. You wanted to feel safe. The boy nodded, his eyes watering. I just wanted to be with someone who knows me. Iran's voice soft. Sometimes we chase people because we believe they hold our light, but the truth, Iran, is that your light has always been inside you. It flickers, it dims, but it never disappears. Rian wiped his eyes with the sleeve of his borrowed sweater. Then, why does the lantern help me feel better? Because it reminds you of that inner light, Iran said. That's all a lantern can do. Vi, a visitor in the rain. One afternoon, the sky darkened to a deep, stormy gray. Rain washed over the valley in silver sheets, and the wind howled like a low, distant flute. A frantic knocking echoed on the door. When Iran opened it, a tall young man stood soaked to the skin, breathless, eyes wide with worry. Please. The young man gasped. I'm looking for a boy named Rayan. He's small, about this high. With dark hair and a blue satchel, Rayan froze in the doorway behind Irang. Brother. The young Manaran stumbled forward, almost tripping as he embraced Rayan tightly. I've been looking everywhere for you, Arndt whispered, voice breaking. You disappeared. I thought something awful had happened. Rian clutched him back just as fiercely. I tried to find you too. I got lost. Arn pulled back just enough to look at him. You should have stayed home. I would have returned. The boy shook his head. I didn't want to wait. I didn't want to be alone anymore. Arndt hugged him again, soaked clothes and all. Iran quietly stepped aside, letting the moment stretch without interruption. When they finally came inside, Aaron bowed to Aaron. Thank you for taking care of him. Aaron smiled. He took care of himself. I merely offered tea. Rian glanced at the lantern outside. And hope, he whispered. Iran twinkled a little. Ah, yes. And that 7, the lantern's last lesson? That night, Aaron insisted they should leave the next morning. Rian agreed he missed home and he wanted to return. But he also felt something tug inside his chest, a gentle sadness at leaving the hill. The wooden house, and the soft old man who had shown him how to breathe again. Before dawn, Rian came outside for one last moment with the lantern. Iran joined him quietly. You're leaving as someone braver, Aaron said. Rian lowered his head. I'm leaving because you helped me. No, Iran corrected softly. You healed because you allowed yourself to rest. That is courage. Rian bit his lip. Will the lantern still shine for me, even if I'm far away? Iran placed a hand on his shoulder. It will shine for anyone who remembers the warmth of hope. And you, Rian, have learned how to carry that warmth inside you. The boy looked up at him. Can I tell others about the lantern? Aaron smiled. That's how the light grows. 8. Goodbye on the hill. When Aaron and Rayon began their descent, the fog had lifted. The valley glowed with soft morning light. Rian turned around one last time. Aaron stood by the lantern, raising a hand in farewell. Rian lifted his hand too, feeling something new in his chest. Not sadness, not fear, but the gentle weight of understanding. As they walked down the hill, Aaron asked, was it frightening being alone up there? Rian thought for a moment. At first, yes. But then I learned something. What's that? That even in the quietest places, you can hear your heart better. And when you hear it, you know how to find your way. Aaron smiled and ruffled Rayon's hair. I'm glad you found your way back. Rayon looked toward the house on the hill. I had help, he said softly. Ike's? The lantern still shines. In the evenings that followed, Rayon and Aaron rebuilt their small home together. They talked more, they laughed more, and whenever Rian felt lost, again because no one stays on lost forever, he would close his eyes and imagine the lantern's warm glow. Back on the hill, Iran continued his quiet rituals. Every evening, he stepped outside, touched the lantern gently, and whispered, "Shine for those who wander. Shine for those who wait. Shine for those who hope." And the lantern, faithful as always, glowed for the valley below. Some said it glowed a little brighter now, as if a boy with a tired heart had given it something in return. A small spark of hope carried down the hill and into the world.